I've been off the mat over the grid. Laughing hard, but I'm dodging the sig. One time, cause I'm straight with the pen. 2 times, cause my location off. 3 times if you think I'm your friend. All my friends question where have I been, but did my promise, let me make it a day. Get your calendars and go mark the date. About a year from now when I meet today.
As always, guys, before we can jump into any build, we must go over the supply list. So let's go ahead and start. So starting from the bottom up, for my substrate, I'm going to be using Eco Earth. This is 2 bricks of Eco Earth in this container. I'm going to be mixing it with some Repti soil and then some Repti bark as well. I really like this Repti soil. I've used it for the first time in my last build, but because I have some Eco Earth I need to use up, I'm still going to use the Eco Earth. We're going to be adding some sphagnum moss and some leaf litter that I've cut up. Here in these 2 bins, I have my cleanup crew ready to go. I got giant orange isopods, springtails, and dwarf white isopods. I bought a new heat mat for the enclosure as well. The plants that we're going to be using, I have this snake plant and then some pothos. They're not in great shape, but I'm hoping they'll bounce back in the enclosure. I just want to use them up. And then I'm also going to be putting a faux plant in here as well. I have some wood decor pieces, so this is going to go in there, and as well as this guy right here for some climbing branches. Of course, gotta have your water dish, and I have some assorted hides as well. So that's the main materials. I'm going to be setting up this 40-gallon enclosure. It is an old enclosure, so it does have like the spot over there from my old heat pad, but it is thoroughly clean and ready to go. So let's go ahead and set this guy up. Alright y'all, so we are back with another bioactive build. This time I'm going to hop in the video a little bit to kind of tell you my thought process as I am building this enclosure, and kind of give you the skinny on bioactive builds. I've done a lot on my channel at this point, but hey, it doesn't hurt to revisit the information. First of all, I do want to apologize for the weird angles in this video. That corner that I was filming in was just really small. It was next to my bed, so there was really not enough room for me to put my camera. But hopefully that doesn't bother you throughout the video. But basically right now I'm just getting the substrate ready. I already told you what I was going to be putting in the substrate. But basically when it comes to a bioactive build, your substrate needs to be able to maintain good humidity essentially for your bioactive crew. So you want to give them plenty of hiding spots, and that's really why I like to add leaf litter. Not only can they eat it, but they can also hide under it. And also I kind of like to add texture, which is why I added that Repti bark. That can kind of break down over time, but also they can kind of hide under that as well. So you want a really good quality soil that can maintain humidity pretty well. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to have it very, very humid, especially if you have a more arid species, but it does need to be able to maintain low pockets of humidity, and you don't want the soil to dry out very quickly, very easily. And I will say that in my experience, it's been a little hard to not have the substrate completely dry out on the side where the heat pad is, but it's really, you got to find that balance, and I'm still working on it myself, but that is something you want to keep in mind. So I will be jumping around in this video a lot simply because it usually takes me forever to figure out a configuration that I like. I think for this video it took me like 30 minutes. So you're getting a lot of jumps in this video basically because I didn't want to waste your time with you watching 15 minutes of me setting it up one way and then me ended up not keeping it that way at all. As far as my decor for this enclosure, I wanted to add fake plants and live plants. Live plants, obviously, because it's bioactive, we want that cycle of nutrients to happen, but I wanted fake plants because I really don't have the best rap sheet with keeping live plants alive. So I figured I can at least throw in some fake plants. That way, if my live plants die off, I have a little bit of greenery in there. And it's also key to note that you don't actually need live plants to have a bioactive setup, but to complete that cycle, it is nice to have that like complete ecosystem vibe by having live plants in your enclosure. You can see me adding my cleanup crew, and honestly, those guys get the job done. I do want to add some bigger isopods over time, but you can see them running around crazy in there. Alright guys, so we are back a couple of weeks later, well maybe like a week later. I just didn't like the way the enclosure was turning out, so I decided to go out and buy some more live plants because I just didn't like the way the fake plants were looking along the background. So we're going to take those guys out, we're going to replace them with the live plants I bought. I did go ahead and decide to buy another golden pothos. So we have a good looking guy right here. And then I also have this plant right here, and this is what the tag says. So we're going to be using these two. I might keep one of the fake plants, but who knows. The reason why I don't like the way this plant looks is because it looks too fake. Like I don't like the stems, like the underside of the leaf showing. So I'm trying to put this in there in a way that that won't be a thing. So the issue that I'm having right now is I still feel like this side of the enclosure is just a little too naked. Like I don't like how plain it looks. Since the pothos plant is wider, it has a little bit, and then move the pothos right here so that it can kind of, since it is a vining plant, it can kind of vine out towards the right without it being rooted too close to the heat pad. Alright guys, so I have this piece of wood here. And maybe if I just add some more climbing space, then it'll take up some of that empty space over here. And juvenile baby boas are slightly arboreal anyway, so it's not like he's not going to appreciate that extra climbing space. And then I do have these fake plants that we can add a little bit of greenery. I kind of like this one because it doesn't look too fake. Now that I can live with. Alright, now I think I'm satisfied. Okay, so now that I'm happy with this, it's time to get our new house guests. In case you guys have not met my new baby boa, his name is Gara. I actually made a video, well, 2 videos about him. I introduced you guys to him in one video, and then the follow-up video I actually showed you guys how I set up his quarantine tank. So I will link those above in the iCard if you are interested. But I haven't even had him a year yet, so I'm excited. This is his first tank setup. He gets all of this space in a 40-gallon. He has plenty of hiding spaces. That's one of the things you want to do when you have a smaller snake, is to make sure they feel secure. So that's what I was trying to accomplish with this setup. And I honestly think I did a good job of doing it. He uses the climbing branches pretty good. He does take advantage of the full size of the tank as well. Alright guys, as always, don't forget to lock up, step back, and admire all of your hard work. Thank you guys for tuning in for another one of my videos. I greatly appreciate it. If this is your first time here, I hope that you stick around and hit that subscribe button. If you guys do, if you guys stay tuned, then I will see you in my next video.
Risk it all, I am not playing safe. Lyrically, there is nobody on top of me. Seriously, all this mumble rap really be killing me. If I'm in your city, you know I'm pillaging. The villages, boy, I'm diligent. When it comes to myself, I ain't feeling it. Trying factor out the gate, I'm a trilogy. Stuck to my roots like how religious niggas be. But I never switched up, yeah. If I throw a punch, you hit the gun,